Hey, this is Mike. This ride was done on December 30th, 2019, New Year's Eve. I had some time off work again, so I was going to try to do a drive in the middle of the day. This particular run I call Do the Eights. I'm going to go out on Highway 8 towards Mount Ida from Mena, cross over back and catch Highway 88 on the way back into Mena. So I'm calling this ride Do the Eights. This is a really short ride. This is, I think if you look on the map, it says 85.5 miles, but my odometer at the end of it said 86.3 miles. So somewhere just under 90 miles on a run. It's a nice little ride you can do in the summer when you get done with work. If you're working, and you get done and you still have 2 or 3 hours of daylight left, and you don't want to go home right then, or you don't want to sit on the couch, or you just don't want to sit around. You want to get out and get some wind therapy. So this is a nice little ride you can do, depending on traffic, etc., and the conditions. You can get it done in about an hour and a half. So it's a nice little ride. You still have plenty of daylight. You don't have to worry about riding in the dark. If you're older like I am and your eyes don't work as well in the dark, I really prefer to do my riding during the day. Fewer critters are running out in the road on you during the day as well. So we're taking out on Highway 8. Highway 8 runs basically through the valley heading towards Mount Ida. It's a nice road. It's got gentle sweepers, a lot of pretty country in the valley. This is winter time, so you see a lot of missing leaves on the trees, but during the summer it's really beautiful, or even in the fall, because there's a lot of hardwoods. Got a lot of color along this line. Road generally is in great shape. It's chip and seal for most of it, which seems to be what they do in our county around our areas. They prefer chip and seal. I really prefer nice smooth asphalt, but hey, the road's still in good condition. You don't have a lot of potholes and a lot of torn up surfaces. So it's really nice to ride. And the nice thing again about this ride is you can do it real quickly. You don't have to spend all day on a ride. Maybe you're up here riding already and everybody else has done their ride and don't want to do anything, and you still got the ants in your pants and need to get out and get some more wind. Then this is a little ride you can do and meet them for dinner. So it's a nice ride to take. Like I said, it's about 80, just under 90 miles, 80, anywhere from 85 to 89 miles, depending on what map you use or what your odometer says on your bike. A lot of nice gentle sweepers going out on 8. In Mount Ida, we'll actually hook up onto Highway 270, and there's some nice little curves on that heading back towards Pencil Bluff, where you'll catch Highway 88 and then run back into Mena. The last little leg coming back into Mena is actually going to be on Highway 71. You're pretty much in town by that time, and it's not a short leg. So, it's a short leg, so you don't have to do a lot of time on 71 getting back into town. The majority of the ride is on one of the 8s going out and coming back. What we're on right now is Highway 8 heading out. It's close. It's got more coverage on the road as far as trees up next to the road, more shade, etc. So if you're running this in the summer, you're going to have the sun in your face no matter which way you run it. If you go out on 88 or go out on 8, etc., I would suggest probably doing the way I'm doing now. Go out on 8, come back on 88. That way, you're still going to have the sun in your face, but you're not going to have as much shadow on the road, because the trees generally aren't, for most of the ride, are not right up against the road. I'm sure you've experienced while you're riding, especially if you're going from sunlight to shade. You got the sun in your face. It's really bright, and all of a sudden you come up on a curve, and you're in darkness because of the shade of the trees are casting shadows. So I would recommend going out on 8 and back in on 88, just because you'd probably deal with it. You're still got the sun in your face, but you're going to have a less transition issues going from light to dark, dark to light, etc. The runs going out on 88, like I said, it's very pretty out there, and mostly just gentle sweepers. As you can see, we're still on 8 at this time. And then we get up into Norman, Oklahoma. 8 will actually break right, or east mostly, southeast, towards Glenwood. We're going to keep going up Highway 27 at that time, go into Mount Ida, catch 270, and run 270 mostly westward, and head back towards 88, and then that'll be the main highway, the other side of the 8s that'll take you back towards Mena. It's a real nice ride, some pretty country. I think you'll enjoy it, and it'll give you, if you're a little fidgety, just don't want to sit down on the couch yet, or dinner's not going to be ready for a couple hours, or whatever, you can get out there and get some wind in your face and loosen up a little bit instead of just sitting on the couch or pacing the house or whatever. The town we're coming into right now is Black Springs. It's going to be probably the first. I wouldn't call it a big town, but it's bigger than some on the route. And you're going to come through here and then hit a town, Norman, just a few miles on the other side of it, where we're going to head north towards Mount Ida. There's a nice little stretch of about 9 miles between Norman and Mount Ida that the asphalt was put down about 3 years ago, I think. It's still in really good shape, and if you don't have any cars in front of you, which most of the time you're going to catch somebody in front of you, it's got some really nice curves, and so if you can push it a little bit, you can get a little fun, you get a little twisties. If you don't ride Arkansas or not familiar with Arkansas, it's just a caution. All roads except major highways are 55 miles an hour. Just something to keep in mind. I know that some of them are just begging for you to twist that throttle and go, but just remember, the posted speed limit on most highways or smaller roads in Arkansas is 55. Most of the time, you're probably not going to see a highway patrolman, but you only takes once to maybe possibly ruin your day. So anyway, that's just something to keep in mind. Just a suggestion. I mean, don't pay attention to my speedometer in this video. It's can be the glare will make it look like I'm going faster. But there's a lot of road out here to ride. It's a lot of fun. This is Norman right here that we're in. We're heading up that little stretch I was talking about, which is somewhere between 9 and 11 miles between here and Mount Ida. And as you can see, I'm transitioning between different parts of the road, different parts of the video, because nobody wants to sit here and watch an hour and a half video. And this is part of some of those turns I was talking about heading up that road. They do have some elevation to them. They do have some twists and turns. Even have kind of like a roller coaster effect in some of it. So if you've got, if you're pushing the top end of that speed limit, they can be a little fun. And the traffic's usually not too bad. I think I get closer into town, I probably cut most of that out. I get stuck behind a few cars. You do have some passing zones available to you, but like most passing zones around here, they're few and far between, and you got to get in and out quickly because you're just, you've got curves. There'll be one we'll talk about here a little bit, going up 270 coming out of Mount Ida. That's an available passing zone, but it's pretty tricky because it's got some, while you're accelerating, trying to get around the cars, you're adding quite a bit of speed, and the turns can be kind of sharp, and you got to deal with it pinching back in on itself. We'll show you that here in a little bit. I had a car pull in front of me on there, trying to keep me from getting in front of him, so I didn't run the risk of going too fast on that piece of road. But they are fun to ride. Even the transition between Mount Ida and Pencil Bluff, you'll hit those curves, and that's a lot of fun. We're sitting right now at the stop sign in Mount Ida at 270 and 27 now. We actually got onto Highway 27 when we were in in Norman. To my right, I don't know if I tried to show it in an earlier video, there's an Exxon that sits right there. It's got quite a big parking lot, so it's a really good place if you're riding with a group of bikes. You can stop there, and you can have room to spread out and put all your 10, 20 bikes, whatever you have. You can get gas. Their bathrooms were redone a couple years ago. They're easier to use. They used to be like single-use bathrooms. They're now multi-use. They're reasonably clean. They're not horrible. They're not spick and span, but they're reasonably clean most of the time. The people there are friendly. And, you can stop and get water or something, to a snack or something, give it a place to stretch your legs, get everybody in your group gassed up. And that's about 46 miles from Mena, where you would start on Highway 8 and 71 out of Mena for this leg. So it's not too far out of town. If you're taking people on a longer trip and it's the first stop you have on your ride, it's a good place for everybody, get rid of their coffee, etc., and get back on the bikes for the rest of the ride. So this section right here is 270, heading across. Again, this is going to transition us from 8 to 88. And this is coming up on that curve I was talking about. You go down, and then you're going to have, so you start have a passing zone right here. So if you got some cars in front of you, a lot of times you're going to try to get around them. So you're putting on some speed, and then the turns get a little sharper, and then you run out of passing zone fairly quickly. You can see that car right there didn't want me getting ahead of him, so he pulled out in front of me, which isn't bad. You know, he's moving fairly well. But you curve around at the top, and then the passing zone ends, and then it immediately dips down right and then back left again. So see, if you've got some speed on right here trying to get around him, all of a sudden you're going downhill and cutting back fairly sharp to the left, especially if you've got some speed on. So it's a little tricky area to try to get around people. Pretty much the rest of the way you've got a few opportunities to pass, but it's mostly 2-lane, no passing zone from there on out till we get to the 88. Excuse me. So I'm transitioning right here, right outside of Pencil Bluff. Pencil Bluff is where we're going to hang a left, and we're going to grab 88 and head back towards Mena. I think at this point we're about 32 miles outside of city center in Mena. So it's, again, you've got most of your run behind you right now. And it's going to be, like I said, sweepers like 8, but more open. So you're not going to have to deal with as much of that shade, shadow, transition stuff you would when the, when the sun's deep in your face on the way back. Oh, excuse me. I meant to mention I'm doing a voice overlay on this video, and will probably be what I'll have to do with most of my videos until I can find out which microphone I need for inside my helmet or what I need to do to get that sound better. As you notice on my first couple videos on the bike, I had to remove the audio completely. It's just scratching. You can't understand what I'm saying. All you hear is wind noise and scratching. About the only time you can hear anything is if I come to a stop. And still, it's not that great. So either I don't know how to use a microphone correctly, the microphone's not any good, I'm using the wrong microphone, I don't know. As I stated, I'm new to all this, and so I'm trying to learn. So I finally just decided to try to do a voice overlay so you could get some sound with it, so that you're not watching somebody else ride curves and get a text box or a caption come up every once in a while to tell you what's going on. So that's what we're doing now, and hopefully this goes better, and probably will be what I'll have to do from now on, is to do a voice overlay afterwards. So hopefully I'll remember all what I wanted to say while I was riding. Plus, you don't want a bunch of dead air. It kind of makes it hard to watch. And of course, you may not want to listen to me the entire time. So I'll get better at this as time goes on. Maybe add music or something like that. I am discovering that I can't talk very long without getting a dry throat and have to get a drink of water. So that's something I need to learn. But this is, as you can see, the sun's kind of in your face here. It's not as low as it would be if you're coming in late on an afternoon in the summer. But you do have more of the sun in your face this way. But then again, the majority of the time it's more open down 88 coming back. So you're not going to have to deal with shooting in the bright sun where it's practically blinding you, and then all of a sudden you're in darkness in the middle of a curve. So I would recommend coming this way on the way back. There's going to be a little town we're going to hit here pretty soon called Pine Ridge. I don't know if any of you all heard of the Lum and Abner show. It's a radio show that was on a long time ago, back in the day when most shows were on radio, that either television wasn't around yet or else it was in its infancy. There's a radio show called Lum and Abner. There had a little store out here in Pine Ridge, and it's called the Jot 'em Down store. It's mostly like a tourist attraction type thing now, kind of like a gift curio type store. But they still have. They told me that the room next to them where the museum was the original location they did the show from. So we're going to see this here in a second. It's called the Lum and Abner show, and it's kind of neat to have something historical like that, not too far out of Mena. It's kind of a point of interest. I would recommend hitting it in the spring, fall, early summer maybe. When we visited, it was like 102 degrees. They don't have any air conditioning in there. If you notice on the right, that second little building is next to the bigger one is where they had the radio show. And the rest of this run will be going, you won't, my battery ran out before we got back to town. I have like 90-minute batteries, and I think it was like a hour 42 on the entire run. So you won't see the Exxon back in town that I usually stop at, but there's an Exxon at the intersection of 8, or actually it's at 8 and 71. That's in town where this run, when I was talking about the mileage, that's where I started the run, was from that Exxon. They're not the cheapest gas in town. Usually Walmart has that, which is another few feet up the road from that gas station. But again, the Exxon in Mena, as the Exxon in Mount Ida, have a lot of area for you to park bikes. So if you're coming in with a group of people and you need some room to spread out, as you know, every time you stretch your legs, it's like trying to herd cats. You got to try to get everybody together and back on the bikes in time. But you do need room to spread out. You need room for them to get something to snack on, to get gas, go into the bathroom, take a break, etc. So this Exxon has, as the other one in Mount Ida, has room to spread out with bikes. Mena is a very bike-friendly town, so you don't have to worry about anything going on with people hating people on bikes, because there's a lot of bikes that move through here. The Exxon also has a Baskin-Robbins in it and a Wendy's. So you can get some ice cream, you can get a Frosty, you can get a hamburger, whatever, if you have that much time for your group to stop. And get your gasoline all in one place. Then, of course, they have a little convenience store in there as well. So it's a good place to stop. If you really want the absolute cheapest gas in town, you can kind of go up a little farther, go into Walmart. And Walmart, of course, has plenty of parking, and they have several gas pumps there. I think there's 8 gas pumps at this Exxon that's sitting there, 8 and 71. So when we run back into town on 88 here, you'll already be inside the city limits when you'll intersect Highway 71, and then you'll take a left heading back towards Mena, or heading back towards 8, and the first light you hit coming that direction in town is the intersection of 71 and 8, and that's where the Exxon's sitting. And so you basically are doing a big kind of a loop, kind of an ellipses-shaped loop coming out and back. And again, this is one of those runs you do when you're at the end of the day. You only have a few hours of daylight. Typically, you would do it mostly in the summertime, because in the winter, by the time you get off work, you might have 30 minutes before it's too dark to ride. And again, I prefer to ride in the daytime because I'm getting older and my eyes just don't work as well. And there's too many critters that come out on the road at night that could really ruin your day if you hit one of them or you dodge one. And it's warmer during the day too. So yeah, again, you're back on Chip and Seal coming in on 88. There are sections of 8 and 88 that do have asphalt that are nice and smooth. And these are not rough. It's just that I really prefer a nice smooth asphalt highway to anything else. But again, the roads are in good condition. You have very few potholes and patches that you have to worry about. Traffic is usually not too heavy. You saw a few cars I got behind there. And there were a few going into town that I got stuck behind. I did not keep that video going. I cut it there. But, generally it's a very, very nice ride. You can see here the fields to the right and the ponds, and it's a lot more open coming this way. You still are going to have some shade to deal with on the sun. In the summer, the axis of the sun is going to be more to the right, so it's going to be more in your face most of the time. It's just a different path that it takes in the summer. But generally, it's a nice ride. Gentle sweepers on the way back in, nothing too difficult. It's pretty nice to bring your group in this way if you've been out riding all day, like you went out to maybe go up to Fayetteville or Hot Springs, or you went out to Mount Ida, somewhere like that, and you're bringing 10 or 20 bikes back. It's at the end of the day, everybody's getting tired, their reflexes aren't as good. It's kind of nice to bring them in on 88. It's more direct towards Mena, more gentle, more open terrain, and it's flatter, so you don't have to worry about people being tired on the road. Well, this is the close of this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully my voiceover went fine. Thank you.